Learning a new language like English is no easy feat, and as a rational person that you probably are, you wouldn't expect that you would reach a very high level super quickly. After all, if you're on a beginner level, then currently you can't understand most of the things that people are saying in real life, and you can't maybe form all the thoughts that you would like into sentences. And maybe you're learning just your first words, and you're understanding only a few words of what I'm saying as well. It would be crazy to assume that you could start speaking English actually from day one, wouldn't it? In a way, you could, and actually, you should. I'm not claiming that you could start speaking freely in a foreign language like English from day one. However, starting to speak the language from day one using the words and sentences that you already have studied, for example with Speakly, is a highly attainable goal. And there is no better time to start practicing the things that you already have learned. Now, there are a few things that you can keep in mind to be more brave and start practicing the language already when you just know like 10, 20, 50 or 100 words. Do not wait until you're better at the language. There will always be a new better, and by the time when you feel that you are ready to start expressing your thoughts in English, then you have already wasted months and probably years. The reality is that it's not important to be perfect in your speech. It's important to express your thoughts and to learn from the mistakes that you're doing. And the second thing to keep in mind is that the only way to learn really is to express your thoughts and to learn from the mistakes, as I said. And the second thing to keep in mind is that the only way to start speaking the language is by speaking it. So if your goal is to start speaking English, then you should start speaking right now. Speaking a new language might be intimidating, but it's actually better to start forming sentences and trying to express your thoughts in the beginning, because when you're already at higher levels, then you will be more conscious of your mistakes and you will be more critical of yourself. And believe me, mistakes is something that you will do plenty of in your language learning journey. If you will try to speak in full sentences from the beginning of your language learning journey, then you will also use easier, simpler words to express yourself. And this is always a good thing, because usually we can express most of our thoughts in 500, 600, 700 most relevant words of a language. And those fancy words that you might hear in movies or see in magazines or books, they are actually not so needed. If you have just picked up learning a language like English, then it might be difficult to understand where to start putting together full sentences to express your thoughts. Also, which sentences should I learn and in which contexts should I use them? Here we have one simple rule. Learn the sentences that are most used in your daily life. And the good news is that Speakly teaches you exactly these sentences. These are sentences like hi, bye, yes, no, I don't know, I am here, where is it? It's here, just a moment, let's go. Things like that. If you get started with such very useful sentences and you integrate new additional sentences into your daily life as well, then eventually you will build up a nice little foundation of sentences that you can use for your daily conversations as well. And Speakly is a massive help here that will teach you all those sentences that you need. Another reason to start practicing speaking right away is that in such a way you will start practicing the correct pronunciation of the language. We see this very often with language learners that, they are silently using the app, not saying the sentences out loud, and then eventually they will understand the language, but they can't speak it. To speak the language, you really need to speak it. There is no other way. So, for example, in Speakly, if you are doing the listening exercises, then always say the sentences out loud. Not by whispering them, but really saying them out loud. And I would recommend you to say all the sentences that you see in the Speakly app out loud several times. Also, don't worry if you feel that you are not pronouncing the words or sentences correctly right away. Correct pronunciation is a process. It's something that is usually not understood. It's not possible to pronounce all the English words correctly right away, but if you start practicing it, then eventually it will come. Now, obviously, if you are learning English in an environment where it's used on a daily basis, then you have an easy thing going on because you can use the language in all kinds of situations. But most of English learners are in their home countries and they can't use English on a daily basis. Now, in such a situation, it's always great to speak to yourself. And indeed, you just go about your business and think of sentences that you would like to say in your daily life. And try to say them in English in the most simple way possible. So, for example, if you don't know the word fork, then say the thing that I'm eating with. You make it as easy as possible and as simplistic as possible. When talking about starting to speak the language, don't wait for the perfect moment, because there is no perfect moment other than the current one. Pick out a few sentences and start using them in your everyday life. And it doesn't matter that if you can't express them to a real foreign person, an English speaker. You can just say them out loud throughout your day when you're doing something and you're just thinking of different scenarios of where you can use these sentences. And the more you practice, the easier it gets.